Hello and welcome to Module 3. Today we're going to be looking at marking criteria. This is probably the most important module of the whole course because I'm going to show you exactly how the examiners mark your papers and exactly how they judge what mark you're going to get. So this is very, very powerful information. If you know exactly what to give the examiners, then you stand a far higher chance of getting the scores you need. And modules 4 up until 12, we're going to be talking a lot about all of the different things I mentioned today. So please don't skip this module. This is the most important one. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the official marking criteria that all the examiners use. And I'm going to break these down into do's and don'ts because the marking criteria, the language is very, very complicated and lots of students find it difficult to understand. So if you don't understand the marking criteria, don't worry because I've broken it down, made it very simple for you in very simple do's and don'ts. So things you should do to get high marks and things you should not do to get high marks. So this is the official marking criteria. This is the piece of paper, the document that every IELTS examiner has beside them when they are marking your task 1 papers. There's one for task 2 and this is the one for task 1. Now, don't worry if you don't understand all of this. It is very, very complicated. There's some very complex language in this. Don't worry, I'm going to break everything down into simple things. I just want to point a few things out here. There are 4 criteria: task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. And then there are different band scores. So we have band 9, band 8, band 7, band 6, and then there's ones for band 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. You're not going to get 5, 3, 2, 1, or 0. So we're going to just focus on band 9, band 8, band 7, and band 6. So here is task achievement. I have broken this down just for task achievement. And we have band 6, band 7, band 8, and band 9. So these are the things you need to do to get band 6. If you do these things, you'll get band 7. If you do these things, you'll get band 8. And if you get these things, you'll get band 9. So let's look at task achievement, do's and don'ts. So task achievement is really, did you answer the question properly? So this is the first of 4 criteria. Task achievement is, did you fulfill the task? Did you actually answer the question? So let's look at some of the things you should do and shouldn't do. So the first thing you must do is you must write over 150 words. 150 words or over. If you don't write 150 words or more, then it is very difficult, impossible to give you a score for task achievement over 5. You cannot get over 5 for task achievement if you don't write over 150 words. So please do that. And in the next module, we're going to look at how you can make sure that you do that. You must have a clear purpose for writing the letter. So there must be one sentence at the beginning of the letter which states your purpose, your reason for writing the letter. So, dear sir or madam, I'm writing to complain about X. Or dear, your friend's names, let's say Tom, dear Tom, I'm writing to let you know I'm having a party next week. So you're telling the reader the purpose or the reason why you're writing that letter. And we're going to look in module 5 at the overall strategy, the overall structure that we're going to use, and I'm going to go into this in more detail. So don't worry if you don't understand everything just yet. Make sure that all your main points are relevant. So remember, if you think back to the questions, you were given a reason for writing the letter, who you're writing to, and then you were given 3 bullet points. So you have to write about those things. You can't write about irrelevant things. So for example, if the question was write a letter to your friend inviting them to your party, and you start telling them about your job or you start telling them about your holiday, then that is irrelevant. You only talk about the things in the bullet points and in the rest of the question. You address each of the bullet points. So remember, there are 3 bullet points in each question. So I'm going to show you in the structure and the overall strategy in module 5 how to make sure that you address each of these bullet points every time. I'm going to show you how to do that, so it'll be no problem for you. Develop each of the main paragraphs fully. So you're going to have one paragraph for each of the bullet points. So you're going to have 3 main paragraphs because you have 3 bullet points. And each of those paragraphs has to be developed fully. So I recommend writing around 50 words. So if you write around 50 words for each bullet point, you will always go over the 150 word limit, and you will develop each main point fully. Don't worry, this is very, very easy to do, and I'll show you how to do this in the next modules. Next one, you have to present your information clearly. So that means that when someone is reading your letter, it is very obvious to them which bullet point relates to each of the paragraphs, and it is very clear the meaning that you're trying to convey. So it's very easy for the person to understand. And you must have a correct and consistent tone. So in module 2, we looked at the difference between formal and informal. So if it is a formal letter, you use a formal tone throughout the whole of the letter. And if it is an informal letter, you use an informal tone throughout the whole letter. So let's look at things that you shouldn't do for task achievement. You shouldn't write about irrelevant topics or details. So lots of people memorize big chunks of things that they could insert into their task 1. This is a very, very bad idea, because your memorized sentences, your memorized phrases probably won't be relevant to the actual question. So don't write about things that are not mentioned in the question. And we're going to look at how to do that in later modules. Use an inconsistent tone. So you shouldn't use informal language and formal language in the same letter, or use formal language in the beginning and then informal language at the end. That is an inconsistent tone. And I'm going to show you what is formal language and what is informal language, so you won't be inconsistent. Write undeveloped main points. Lots of people will fully develop, say, 2 of their paragraphs, and normally 1 of their paragraphs will only be 1 sentence long. And this means that 1 of their main body paragraphs is undeveloped. It isn't around 50 words. So make sure that each of your main body paragraphs, the paragraphs that relate to your bullet points, are fully developed. And we're going to look at that in later modules. Okay, so here is coherence and cohesion. So coherence refers to your letter making sense and being easy to understand and easy to read. So this is a lot about thinking about the reader. The reason why we write a letter is to convey meaning, is to tell someone a message. So the clearer it is, the better. Cohesion refers to your ability to link ideas and phrases and sentences together so that they make sense and that they flow together nicely. So again, here is band 6, band 7, band 8, and band 9, things you have to do in order to get these different bands for coherence and cohesion. Coherence and cohesion is judged all together. So feel free to pause the video and have a look at this and try to understand it. Probably best just to wait and listen to my do's and don'ts and then come back to this part. So let's look at coherence and cohesion do's. So you should have a clear structure. So in module 5, we're going to go through a structure, a very, very simple structure that gets very high marks that you can use for any essay. And if you follow that in module 5, you'll have a very good chance of getting high marks, because a good structure makes everything easy to understand and links everything quite well. So you get high marks for coherence and cohesion. You organize information logically. So you organize information in a way that makes sense and is easy for the reader to understand. And module 5, I'll be showing you a very simple trick to make sure that you organize your information logically every time. Very, very simple way. And the next one is using linking words appropriately and accurately. Now, linking words are words that are sometimes referred to as cohesive devices, or just linking words. Now, these are words like firstly, secondly, thirdly, however, furthermore, despite that, words like that that link everything together. Now, you must use them appropriately and accurately. So what does that mean? Appropriately means that the meaning is correct. So if you said furthermore, furthermore means that you're adding a new point. Now, if you use furthermore but you don't add a new point, then that linking word is not appropriate. However, you would use that to contrast 2 points. But if you don't contrast 2 points, say you just add a new point and you use however, then you haven't used that word appropriately. So you have to think about the meaning of that. Accurately means that it is spelled correctly and the grammar is correct. So if you use linking words appropriately and accurately, you will tend to get higher marks. And the next one is using reference. So words like it, they, this. So if you were talking about a party you were having, you wouldn't just constantly refer to it as the party. I want to invite you to the party. The party is at 3 o'clock. There will be food at the party. You can use referencing words like it or they or this instead of just repeating the same words again and again. So things that you should not do for coherence and cohesion. You shouldn't write one long answer. So in other words, you should use paragraphs. Paragraphing is very important. If you don't use paragraphing correctly, you won't be able to get a very high mark because it's difficult to understand and it's not very cohesive. So in module 5, I'll be showing you all about paragraphing. So please don't write just one big long answer with no paragraphing or no breaks in that. Don't try to get extra marks by using lots of linking words. So this is one of the main misconceptions, things that people don't really know about IELTS. Lots of teachers and even some books tell students that the more cohesive devices, the more linking words you use, words like however, despite that, furthermore, firstly, secondly, thirdly, the more of those words you use, the higher marks you will get. This is actually incorrect. You don't get any extra marks for using linking words. You get extra marks for using linking words appropriately and accurately. And if you look at band 7, band 8 and band 9 answers, the thing that you'll notice, especially with band 8 and band 9, is they don't have too many linking words. There aren't a lot in there, maybe 1 or 2 per paragraph. So extra linking words don't result in extra marks. So listing main points in a logical order. So starting to talk about your main points before you actually introduce the topic and write the purpose of your letter. It is far more logical to tell the person what the purpose of your letter is first, and then you can get into the main points, and that makes more sense. That's more logical. And again, I'll be showing you all this in module 5. So this is lexical resource. Don't worry if you've never heard of the term lexical resource before. Lexical resource is just a big word for vocabulary. So it is basically how wide-ranging your vocabulary is and how accurate your vocabulary is. So 25% of your mark will go to vocabulary. So here is the marking criteria for vocabulary for band 6, band 7, band 8 and band 9. So to get a band 6 you need to do this. To get a band 9 you need to do this. So again, don't worry if you don't understand everything. Listen to my do's and don'ts and then come back and have a look at this and try and understand it that way. So things you should do in order to get a high mark for lexical resource. Use a range of vocabulary. So what does this mean? What does a range mean? Range means 2 things. It means that you don't use very short, very simple words all the time. So you're using more complex words or less common words. And it also means not repeating the same words over and over again. So this is very important with words from the question. So if you've seen the word party in the question, you might not say party 5 times in your letter. You might say gathering instead of party. So that would show that you know a different version of the word party. Use vocabulary accurately and appropriately. So appropriately means meaning. Is the meaning correct? accurately means grammar and spelling. Are they correct? Use appropriate collocations. So collocations are words that normally go together. So let's think of some examples for collocations. If we were describing a dinner that we had, we would describe it as the dinner was delicious. Or if we were staying at a hotel, we would describe the hotel maybe as luxurious or a budget hotel. But we wouldn't describe the dinner as a luxurious dinner because those words don't go together. And we wouldn't describe the hotel as delicious because delicious and hotel don't go together. So this is one of the ways that the examiners will judge your vocabulary. Are you aware of different words that normally go together? Think accuracy first. Now, the first point I made was about range of vocabulary. But the most important thing is to get everything correct. So to get the meaning correct, to get the collocations correct, to get the grammar correct, and get the spelling correct. One of the biggest mistakes that students make is they try and show the examiner that they have a big range of vocabulary. They think that range is the most important thing. And what happens is they try and use words that they're not 100% sure about. And the collocations are wrong, the meaning is wrong, or the spelling is wrong, or the grammar is wrong. If any of those things are wrong, you get lower marks. So it's really a balance between showing the examiner that you have a wide-ranging vocabulary, but make sure that you are accurate. Make sure that everything is correct. And it is far more important that you are accurate than showing that you have a wide range of vocabulary. This is one of the most difficult things to tell students because lots of teachers and lots of books say you have to show a wide range of vocabulary, and what they do is people go away and they try and learn lists of words, and they don't really learn these words properly, and they make lots of mistakes. And this is the best way for you to get a band 5 or a band 6. The best way to get a band 7, band 8, or band 9 is to make sure that the majority of your words that you're using are correct. So things that you should not do. Don't misspell words. Of course, the more misspelled words you have, the lower your score will be for lexical resource. Use words or phrases you don't know 100%. So this is linked to the last point I made on the last slide. If you don't know the spelling, if you don't know the grammar, if you don't know the collocations, if you don't know the synonyms, if you don't know the meaning 100%, then you shouldn't be using that word. If you don't know everything about that word and how it operates in a sentence, how you can use it in a sentence, if you're not sure, then you shouldn't use that word because it's very, very likely that you will make a mistake, and mistakes lead to lower scores. Don't repeat words from the question too many times. So you will be given lots of keywords in the question. Try to vary these words as much as possible, but always remember accuracy first. Don't repeat the words if you're not sure about them, and don't take risks with synonyms. So one of the ways of varying your language and showing the examiner that you have a range of language is to try and use something called a synonym. If you don't know what a synonym is, a synonym are two words that mean the same thing, like woman and female or man and male. What lots of students do is they look up words in the dictionary and they see, oh, this is a synonym and I can use it in the sentence. I could just replace a keyword with a synonym and that's fine. That is sometimes fine, but most of the time it is not. The synonyms have to mean exactly the same thing. And when you're replacing the word, you have to think about the grammar. Is the grammar correct? If it's not, then you shouldn't use that synonym. Try to show off your vocabulary. So this is the number one reason why students get low marks in IELTS vocabulary, for IELTS writing for their vocabulary. They try and show the examiner that they have a very, very wide-ranging vocabulary and try and show the examiner that they know lots of very, very complex words. What they do is they insert these words into their letters and they get a very low mark. and they can't understand why. They say, I used lots of complex words, why did I not get a high mark? Because you're using complex words incorrectly. It is better to use a simple word that is correct than a very complex word that is incorrect. So here we are with grammar. This is the last component of our marking criteria, and this refers to grammatical range and accuracy. So again, take a look at this after you hear me talk about the do's and don'ts. So the thing that you must do is use appropriate structures. So for each part of the letter, it's going to require you to use a different structure. For example, if you're asking someone a question, you're going to have to use a question structure. If you're giving your opinion on something, you're going to have to use an opinion structure. If you're giving advice to someone, you're going to have to use that structure. So it's all about using the correct structures in the correct situation. Use the correct tense. So if you're talking about the past, use the past tense. If you're talking about something in the present, talk about the present tense. If you're talking about the future, talk about the future tense. So make sure that you look at the context of the letter, think about the time that you're talking about, and use the correct tense. The examiners will be looking to see if you have used that correctly. So we talked about before using appropriate structures. So look at the situation and use the appropriate structure. So if you're asking someone a question, for example, you would use a structure that you ask questions, but you must use that accurately. The grammar must be correct. Use accurate punctuation, so full stops, commas, question marks, that sort of thing. And again, think accuracy first. One of the big mistakes is students try and use really complex tenses and really complex structures, and they make lots of mistakes. It is far more important to have a sentence that has no mistakes in it. Your number one concern should be accuracy. So the first don't is make careless mistakes. Most people trying to get a band 7, band 8 or a band 9, their grammar is quite good. And if they sit down and they think about a sentence, they won't actually make many mistakes. But when they're writing, they're under pressure and they're thinking about too many things, they make careless mistakes, silly mistakes. So what you need to do is make sure you minimize these careless mistakes. And I'm going to show you how to do that in the next module. And don't try and use as many different structures as possible. You don't get extra marks for using 10 different structures. You get extra marks for using appropriate structures and using them accurately. So think about the situation that you're writing about and use the appropriate structure. So let's review what we did. So we looked at each of the 4 marking criteria. There are 4 marking criteria, and they make up 25% each of your total mark. So you get 25% for task response, task achievement, 25% for coherence and cohesion, 25% for vocabulary, and 25% for grammar. And we looked at the simple do's and don'ts. Don't worry, these aren't so simple that they don't cover everything. Don't think that I have made them overly simple. What I have done is I've taken everything from the official criteria and I have put them into the do's and don'ts. And the do's and the don'ts cover every single thing. Nothing is left out. So if you can understand them, then you'll be able to understand exactly how the examiners give you the marks. So the next module, we're going to look at planning, idea generation, and timing. All right, thank you very much, and I'll see you in that module. Goodbye.